The Godfather Part 2, winner of 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture of the Year. Best Supporting Actor, Robert De Niro. Best Director, Francis Ford Coppola. Best Original Dramatic Score, Nino Rota and Carmine Coppola. Best Screenplay adapted from another medium, Francis Ford Coppola and Mario Puzo. Best Art Direction and Set Decoration, Art Direction, Dean Tavoularis and Angelo Graham. Set Decoration, George R. Nelson. The Godfather Part 2.
Hi, welcome to Everyone's Critic. This is Spencer Fawcett, and I'm going to be talking about The Godfather Part 2. The Godfather Part 2 serves as both a prequel and a sequel to The Godfather. It tells the story of Michael Corleone after he becomes the Godfather, and Vito Corleone before he becomes the Godfather, and it's very fascinating, so let's take a look.
The history of 2 generations of crime. The drama of absolute power and the men who violate it. The Godfather Part 2.
What is your name?
Don Vito Corleone and his son Michael. Both had seen the ones they loved most cut down before their eyes. Both had killed as an act of vengeance. Both commanded the most powerful and merciless crime organization in the world.
Is it true that in the year 1950, you devised the murder of the heads of the so-called 5 families in New York?
It's a complete falsehood.
They would take any measures.
I mean, you've won. You want to wipe everybody out?
I don't feel I have to wipe everybody out, Tom. Just my enemies.
Make any arrangement.
Michael, we're bigger than U.S. Steel.
Order any death. To protect the empire they controlled. The Godfather and his heir. Both were men of ice, and both were targets.
They're still on the property. Please, Michael, please stay inside.
Keep them alive.
We'll try.
Michael! Alive!
The Godfather Part 2 is Sicily in 1921 and Nevada in 1958. It is revolution in Havana and rubouts in New York. It is manipulation.
It would be like trying to kill the president. There's no way we can get to him.
If anything in this life is certain, if history's taught us anything, it says you can kill anyone.
It is murder. And it is betrayal.
It was a son, and I had it killed because this must all end.
The Godfather Part 2 is the final chapter in the violent history of the Corleone crime family. It is the motion picture masterpiece of the year.
Yeah, so this movie's great, but I do have some problems with it, so I'm going to start with those. I would say this movie is very long. The first Godfather's long enough, but this movie's like 20 minutes longer. It's 3 hours and 20 minutes, something like that, and it does feel long. The Godfather, to me, just sort of blows by, but this movie, you kind of feel that. It's also got too much going on. It introduces all these new characters, and it gets very confusing and very... It's all over the place at times, and I didn't like that. So if it weren't for the fact that this movie is so long, I'd probably have rewatched this like 6 times by now. But since it's so long, I've only seen it like 3. Maybe rewatching it a bunch helps you understand a lot more of it, but it's so confusing at times. And that's mostly with the Michael Corleone, Al Pacino storyline. Frankly, the best part of this movie is the prequel part where it follows Vito Corleone with Robert De Niro, who won an Oscar for this movie, playing a young Vito Corleone. That stuff is fascinating. It's the best part of the movie for me. Robert De Niro steals the show. It's very, very good. Each time Robert De Niro comes on screen, I was hooked with it. Al Pacino's great in this, but people tend to prefer this performance to his performance in The Godfather. I think his performance in The Godfather is much better than his performance here. It's much more layered. He plays a more complex role in The Godfather as he does here. Here he's just cold and cool and collected. In the first movie, he was unsure of himself. He was somewhat of a hero in the beginning. He was the cleanest of them all, and here he's just kind of very cold-blooded, and it's not a one-note character, but it's not as complex and layered as his performance in The Godfather. That being said, he's very good in here. I think he should have won an Oscar, but yeah. So yeah, overall the acting is fantastic, most notably from Robert De Niro. The writing is very good. There's some very memorable lines. Great dialogue, intense dialogue, biting dialogue. Dialogue's great here. Great direction. I love this story. I love this idea for like the sequel and the prequel. I think that's genius. It gets so much... I give it so much credit for the creativity of the story itself. And that's where most of the points come from for me. Direction's great. I can't call it entertaining, because the only parts that were really very entertaining and didn't bore me at all were the parts with Robert De Niro. So it's not as entertaining and it's not as rewatchable because of its length. But other than that, it's very, very good. Not nearly as good as The Godfather. I feel like The Godfather's perfect. This movie has some flaws to it, but it's still very, very good. So overall, I give this movie an 8.8. It's good. It's worth seeing. It'll just take you a long time. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned for my next video. Thank you.